and welcome to a new edition of your weekday program, The Daily Debate, here on Nile TV International. I'm Nancy Sarah Barakat, your host for tonight. On the episode, we're going to be discussing two topics. We'll be starting off with Pope Francis's two-day visit to the country, which saw him make several stops that included Al-Azhar's headquarters, the Coptic Orthodox Cathedral, and St. Leo's Patriarchal Seminary in Maadi during his brief but deeply historical and symbolical visit. Pope Francis arrived in Cairo on Friday afternoon in his first ever papal trip to the country and was received by Prime Minister Sharif Ismail and a number of Coptic and Catholic church officials at Cairo International Airport. The Pope's message was clear, one of love and acceptance of the other, respect of freedoms and human rights, and combating selfishness and all forms of tyranny. During his meeting with Pope Tawadros II, a historic agreement was signed to jointly recognize the baptism of Christians by both churches, offering good news to Egyptian Christians who were pleased by the rapprochement between the leading churches. In a powerful speech to an international conference for peace in Cairo on April the 28th, Pope Francis called on Christian and Muslim religious leaders in Egypt and throughout the Middle East to join in building a new civilization of peace by declaring together a firm and clear no to every form of violence, vengeance and hatred carried out in the name of religion and in the name of God, and to affirm the incompatibility of violence and faith, belief and hatred. Pope Francis also led joint ecumenical prayers at St. Peter and St. Paul's Church, which was subject to a terror attack that claimed the lives of over 30 people in December. The visit of Pope Francis to Egypt is the first of the head of the Vatican since 2000, when Pope John Paul II visited. How significant was the Pope's visit? What were its most important outcomes? And to what extent would such a visit contribute to bolstering coexistence? That's what we're going to be discussing on the first half of tonight's program. We're also going to be taking a look at another topic, that's President Mahmoud Abbas's brief visit to Cairo, which took place yesterday. During his meeting at Ittihadiyya Palace with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the two leaders affirmed that the two-state solution is the only path to reaching stability in the region. The meeting was part of an ongoing coordination between the two leaders regarding the latest developments concerning the Palestinian cause and ways of reviving the peace process. What were the most important outcomes of the stopover? What were particular significant to, was there rather particular significance to its timing? And how pivotal is the role played by Egypt in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict? That and much more will be discussed later on in the program. But as usual, we like to shed some light at another topic making headlines here in Egypt, and today we're taking a look at President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's participation in the Labor Day celebrations that was organized by the Egyptian Trade Union Federation, the ETUF. During the celebration, President al-Sisi gave a speech and honored a number of workers. On the occasion, the address praised the contribution of Egyptian workers to the country's development process. The president also called for supporting local production and increasing exports, as well as attracting more investments to increase job opportunities for the country's youth. To tell us more about the day's event, Dr. Yomna Al-Hamai, Professor of Political Science, joins us now over the phone. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Dr. Yomna, the pleasure is always ours to have you with us. What were your overall impressions of the day's celebrations, and in particular, the President's speech to the nation?
Actually, there are several messages that have been delivered by the President today. Most important of it is, number one, the ethics of work. To how extent we have to emphasize as a country the importance of the ethics of work, and, to praise all workers that are going to exert efforts in order to improve the economic situation in Egypt. And actually, if we refer to the productivity of labor in Egypt, there is a deep need to enhance this productivity and to ensure the importance of working and being hard workers in order to improve the competitiveness of the Egyptian product, in which the president elaborated quite well about the importance of improving our capabilities of exporting from one perspective and from another to produce as import substitution, and to build, the capacities, productive capacities in Egypt. This is quite an important message. Another message is regarding, efforts to transfer the informal sector into formal sector. It's quite important. Why? Because, by which we can enhance productivity of these projects and add to the productive capacity, as well as add to the, public revenue coming from taxes from these projects. So this is the second message that has been delivered by the president's speech. The third message is about, the role of women, Egyptian women, and this is a quite important message, since in Egypt we have, the participation of women in economic activities is very low, 22%, and we need to enhance it, despite that Egyptian women are working quite well in order to support their families, and they are heading families by more than 35 of families in Egypt headed by women. Despite all this, still we are in deep need to improve, the participation, the economic participation of Egyptian women. So these are the most important messages that have been delivered by the president, and I think these messages are quite important for this, period of transformation of the Egyptian economy into more competitive economy, into improving capacity of production, into enhancing competitiveness of Egyptian product.
I thank you very much, Dr. Yumna Al-Hamay, Professor of Economics, for your insights there. Ladies and gentlemen, time now for our first report for the evening and a closer look at Pope Francis's visit to Egypt, and then we'll be back to discuss that here in the studio. Stay with us.
At almost 5 p.m. Cairo local time on Saturday, President Fattah al-Sisi showed Pope Francis to the plane that flew him back to the Vatican, bidding him farewell after a 27-hour visit rightly described as historic. Pope Francis visited the presidential palace, the headquarters of Al-Azhar, the Coptic Orthodox Cathedral, and San Leo's Patriarchal Seminary in Maadi during the time of his stay. On each of these stops, Pope Francis made statements calling for tolerance, peace, and an end to violence. He also offered a homily at a mass he led with joint Coptic and Catholic prayers at the Air Defense Stadium in Cairo. The Pope's message was clear, one of love and acceptance of the other, respect of freedoms and human rights, and combating selfishness and all forms of violence. During his homily, Pope Francis had prayed for the courage of forgiveness and the courage of helping those who fall. The Pope reminded audience at each stop that civilization is the making of those who call for peace, respect the dignity of human beings, pursue development, and refrain from acts of injustice. During his meeting with President Sisi, Pope Francis expressed his sympathy with the loss of lives of Egyptian Copts during the bombing of the two Coptic churches in Tanta and Alexandria during Palm Sunday prayers. He was reassured by President Sisi on the state's commitment to protect all citizens, including Copts, and to secure their freedom of faith and freedom of worship. During his statement before the closing session of the International Conference on Peace at the headquarters of Al-Azhar, Pope Francis underlined the need to respect the religious rights and freedoms of the other and to pursue the call of tolerance, in fully awareness that no act of violence can be committed in the name of God. For his part, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmad Al-Taib, asked all present to stand in silence for 1 minute for Christians and Muslims who have been killed in terrorist attacks. Al-Taib called for an alliance of all organizations that work for peace. He affirmed that no religion can be classified as terrorist, neither Christianity, Judaism, or Islam. Tayyip accused some parties whom he did not name of financing those persons and groups and denounced the arms trade as the principal cause of problems today. During a meeting between Pope Francis and Pope Tawadros, the Coptic Patriarch, at the Coptic Orthodox Cathedral, a historic agreement was signed to jointly reorganize the baptism of Christians by both churches, offered good news to Egyptian Christians who were pleased at the rapprochement between the leading churches. Following the signing of the agreement, Pope Francis and Pope Tawadros led joint prayers at St. Peter and St. Paul Church that was subject to a terror attack that killed over 30 people in December.
تقدم مصر شهداء للحفاظ على أرضها. كل يوم بيسقط من الجيش ومن الشرطة شهداء كي تحيا مصر. حنفي بعون الله طول ما احنا فينا الروح يا بلدنا في لبنان ومعانا فين ما نروح.
فابني مش خسارة فيكم، مش خسارة في مصر.
طول ما احنا فينا الروح يا بلدنا في لبنان ومعانا فين ما نروح.
كنت بتمنى يكون عمره أطول ويفادي مصر أكتر. أنا ببكي بكاء الفراق.
كان لازم أقبل رأس أم الشهيد وأقبل يد أم الشهيد بالنيابة عنكم كلكم. قدمت أغلى ما عندها. يا بلادي يا بلادي تعالينا يا بلادي نفديك يا بلادي وتعيش يا بلادي. مفيش حد يقدر يهزم أمة بتتعامل بقيم أخلاقية شريفة في وقت عز فيه الشر. يا بلادي بالعزم والإصرار لنا رب ينصرنا.
ابني فخر ليكم وانتوا كلكم فخر لمصر.
طول ما احنا فينا الروح يا بلدنا في لبنان ومعانا فين ما نروح.
تحيا مصر.
Gentlemen, a very warm welcome back, and allow me to welcome here in the studio Mr. Hossein Nassar, former Deputy Minister of Culture. Thank you very much for coming in tonight.
My pleasure.
Also joining us is Dr. Shukri Behghet Ramadan, political analyst. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Hossein, let me start off with you, and let's start off with your overall impressions of the Pope's visit to Cairo.
Well, it left us with a great feeling of joy and happiness and relief. It was not the first time the Pope of Vatican visited Egypt, but this time it was different. Mm-hmm. We never really felt the visit of the previous Pope.
Right.
It was, I mean, it passed just like that. But after being subjected to the rule of the Muslim Brotherhood and then the terror applied by the Muslim Brotherhood, it made the story different. And it has revived back the tolerance that we've missed, we've all missed. So I never really imagined Muslims and Copts welcoming the visit of the Pope in such a way. And he was so true He was so honest. You can feel him. You can feel his smile. Even when he was greeting the kids in the stadium. He was as well enjoying being in Egypt. So the general aura of his visits left a very good impression and left the Egyptians with a very good mood.
Right. I wanted to ask the same question to Dr. Shukri, your impressions.
It was great, actually. I just want to remind a little bit with his visit to the United States. I was there when he visited the United States for the first time. He left also a very good impression over there, and he had an influence on even the American politics, even though he's not a politician. But in general, a man in his position, who represents 1.2 billion Catholics, normally talks about general political, general subjects, and that's from the teaching of the Church. But the Pope Francis, he can talk about very sensitive political issues very easily, and because he's so popular that he can get away with it, and people love it. And he talked about, besides, also one other thing, that he does his homework before any visit. So before he went to the United States, he asked for an atlas over New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. And the popular places there and popular things that the people are talking about. He did the same thing in his visit to Egypt. And he even addressed people with the, Masr Dunya in Arabic. And he felt, people felt he's very close. And he ended with Tahya Masr. And between Dunya and Tahya Masr, he said so many great words that left a very good impression, touched the heart of millions of Egyptians, both Christians and Muslims, and billions around the world who were watching his speeches.
To you, what were the most important outcomes of his stopover here in the country?
Actually, his coming at this time by itself is an accomplishment and is a great thing for Egypt. Why? Because it's a challenge. It was a challenge after the sad events that happened in Tanta and Alexandria for the churches, and he could have, postponed the visit or cancel it, but he did it. He's a man of peace, and he has a mission, and he proved that he's true. So when he came to Egypt, he left a very good impression to the world outside, even in Italy. Especially in Italy, I've seen some reporters in Italy mentioned very good impressions over there, and changes of the opinions in the media and also in the TV, the newspapers. You were talking very highly of Egypt.
Right. Let me ask the same question to Mr. Hossein. What do you think were the most important outcomes of his visit, and especially also the significance of its timing?
It's still yet to be seen.
Right.
However, I think his visit is far more important than having him for 1.5 days.
Right.
It will remain for some time. The impact will remain. It will create a sort of movement, a movement of peace, movement of tolerance, movement of dialogue, movement of accommodation. And if you look at the Sheikh Al-Azhar speech and Pope Tewodros and even the president speech, you can feel that the mood is changing, and Egypt is gaining back its tolerant approach to itself and to the world, and the world will feel that and will detect that and will act accordingly, and will support Egypt in its endeavor countering terrorism. Not only countering terrorism by arms, but countering or preventing having that culture of terror that has developed for the past 30 or 40 years in Egypt. So the visit itself was a great achievement. However, it will remain with us for some time, and he has placed himself well into our hearts.
Right. I was also wondering about how you saw the foreign media, as opposed also to the media in the Middle East covering his visit. What were your impressions?
Well, having a figurehead such as the Pope, he's the most important religious icon in the world, and he's as well the president of the Vatican, so he's carrying two hats.
Right.
And he belongs to Italy as well as a venue, and Italy is important as a civilization, and Egypt is as well important to civilization, and it was not only the cradle for the civilization, but it was the cradle for all religions.
Right.
So having such immense coverage of his visits, and having such a figurehead conducting 3 masses at 1.5 days, one ecumenical and one divine and one special in Maadi, it left the world baffled and intrigued and impressed. So it has received an extremely good coverage by the world, with the exception of possibly the papers that are paid by Qatar.
Okay. Let me come back to Dr. Shukri and ask you a little bit about the Pope's address during the Al-Azhar conference on international peace. I think some of the most important points that he raised was drawing attention to the importance of education and the eradication of poverty in order to fight terrorism. What did you make of those 2 particular points as, for him at least, being the 2 most important points in fighting the phenomena of terrorism?
Generally speaking, Pope Francis is always, not in this visit to Egypt. I just want to go back to his visit to America, because he did the same thing. He was fighting poverty, and also, he's pro, the weak people, the women, the children, the handicaps, the minorities. He addressed all these issues. And he speaks of these issues very deeply, that he caused the Speaker of the House to burst in tears, and he was weeping, and he caused them to resign the next day. And just like he was supposed to make a decision later on, but he made it very fast. The second day, he resigned from his position. Going back to the Egyptian visit and his address to Al-Azhar, he said you cannot build peace and you cannot build civilization on referring also to the terrorism and when people are poor and when a nation has to have bread, freedom and justice. He referring to the January 25. So, but he also said that we cannot have build a civilization without denouncing terrorism and denouncing violence, and also when we have poor people that need all these things. So he's pro these much. He's emphasized very much, and this is his message everywhere.
Right. Mr. Hussam, also perhaps your impressions of the speech by Pope Francis at the International Peace Conference on the one part, and to what extent do you think the overall visit will also contribute to enhancing interreligious dialogue?
I was extremely impressed by him delivering a statement that I delivered in Facebook even during the Muslim Brotherhood rule. In that God is supposed to be defending us, right? But if you place yourself in a position that you are defending God, then you have become a God yourself. And this is the most important message that was delivered by the Pope. We should not be defending God, we should be defending His creation. And that impressed me. He never read my Facebook. That was 5 years ago. But having, we call it in Arabic, tanas. I don't know the exact meaning of it in English. But delivering that same message and having the mental capacity to go and deliver it in a courageous fashion inside Al-Azhar and inside the cathedral, it impressed me. And this is actually what we should be teaching our kids in school. And teaching, as Dr. Shukri mentioned, teaching all the underprivileged is that God wants us to love each other, not to quarrel with each other over Him. This is not the mission of God, definitely, and this is not the mission of God creating humanity. He has created humanity with conscience and mind in order to appreciate life. Appreciating life and defending ourselves is the most important message.
Right. As the two of you rightfully mentioned, obviously, Pope Francis also said that religion is not part of the problem, but is part of the solution. And I was wondering, perhaps, Mr. Hussein, first, how can religion be used to achieve a solution to some of the problems that we are facing, most importantly, I guess, terrorism?
Well, I must admit that I have a counter-argument, right. not opposing the Pope, but starting and having dialogue where we differ is not going to get us anywhere.
Right.
We have to start with the commonalities. We have to start with the values, with the human values that was achieved all through history. If we go to the common and avoid the peculiarities and differences between religions and civilizations, then we will achieve something. Religion is an extremely important component of culture and civilization. And I must emphasize that we have to teach kids to appreciate others, to appreciate the difference. Because having one God running such a huge universe, you can never expect to say that there is only one way to this one God, right? The universe is huge, and there are so many ways of approaching and reaching to God, including philosophy.
How do you think we should teach the younger generation this?
Well, that will step us into having an education system that is different from the one that we're having.
Right. How so?
Having an education system to entice kids to think and to use analytical thinking, teaching them the manners of appreciating life, music, art, speeches, poetry. I don't want the kids to go into elementary schools and study mathematics and study even Sha'ri Gahili. This is not the right age to teach kids so many heavy materials. We should be going light on kids. We should teach them early in life how to appreciate life. By having that, we will grow their mentality. Later on, we can teach them how to philosophize, teaching them how the Mu'tazila in Islam thought, how the philosophers of Europe, right, tried to mitigate religion with ecumenial life. This is what we should teach our kids. But if we continue that stream of having them functioning like robots, terror will always be there, and we will all pay the price.
Right. Let me ask the same question to Dr. Shukri before we wrap up this segment. Do you think that we really need to relook and revise our educational system in order to spread tolerance and successfully reach a solution to interreligious dialogue?
Absolutely. I agree totally with Mr. Hassan Nassar in every word he said. And I just want to add that we also should improve, and then it's just a matter of time. We improve our the social level of our families. The family is very, very important in the society, and with education, with that level, we're facing some economical problems. We understand that, and we're working, on it. And I think the future is going to get better, and we're going to get better as we go, and inshallah, God willing. But along with education, we have to raise the level and the value of life, and that the kids see other things like the sports, and the music, culture. We have to focus on these things, and also and revise our what we teach in schools.
Right. So. Well, gentlemen, if you'll allow me to take our second report for the evening and to move on to our second topic for the evening, and that is President Mahmoud Abbas's visit to Cairo yesterday. And we'll be back to discuss that right after this report.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas met with President Fattah al-Sisi during a one-day visit Saturday. During their meeting at Ittihadiyya Palace, President Sisi and his Palestinian counterpart affirmed the two-state solution as the only pathway to reaching stability in the region. The meeting is part of ongoing coordination efforts between the two leaders regarding latest developments in the Palestinian cause and ways to revive the peace process. President Sisi stressed Egypt's support for a just and extensive solution that guarantees the right of Palestinians to establish an independent state within the borders of June 1967 with East Jerusalem as the capital. The Egyptian leader called for intensifying efforts towards settling the Palestinian cause, referring to the importance of the U.S. return to playing a major role in spurring negotiations between Palestinians and Israel. President Sisi concluded that the Arab Peace Initiative is the basis of any end to the Israeli-Arab conflict. For his part, Abbas expressed his keenness on continuing consultations with Egyptian counterparts, acknowledging Cairo's major role in addressing the Palestinian cause, referring to the importance of the meeting before Abbas visits Washington to meet U.S. President Donald Trump.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Hussein, let me ask you, obviously it was a very brief visit by the Palestinian president. What did you make of it? I mean, what do you think were the most important outcomes of it, and how significant was it? Was it aimed at perhaps a briefing before he heads to the United States?
Do you want the truth?
Yes.
Nothing.
Okay.
It's a repetitive ordeal, and the whole issue, the whole Palestinian case, have transformed itself into a lip service.
Right.
Nothing is being delivered on the ground. The Palestinians are so quarreling with each other, Hamas and the PLO, and even there are factions inside Hamas and factions inside the PLO that are making it very difficult. And of course, Israel is using the differences between the different factions and using it to its benefit, and nobody can blame them. They've always been discussing a roadmap, since the Wye River roadmap, but there isn't actually a roadmap inside the Palestinian head in order to go forward and take something and then capitalize on it. I think the Palestinian cause remains in Palestinian hands, not in any other hands. They have to sort themselves out before seeking help from Egypt or Saudi or the US, because nobody is going to give them that.
So factional infighting has to end, basically, for them in order for them to
It's not only the factional rifts, but it's the mindset of the Palestinians, right? What was possible 70 years ago is not possible now.
Right.
They have to reach a pragmatic, practical way of diffusing the situation. Yet they don't have the mindset in order to. They are all over the place. They are flip-flopping. Hence, there is no. They cannot develop an internal mental roadmap in order to see how Palestine would evolve into the next 50 years. And if they remain like that, there would be nothing left of Palestine.
But don't you think that the problem was also with Israel? I mean, Israel continuing to build settlement activity regardless.
Well, who's giving them the chance?
Right. Well, it's the international
as I've said,
community,
they are using it and to its benefit, and nobody can blame them.
Right.
Because they are being pragmatic and they are taking over the land.
Right.
70 years ago, they had less than 49%. Now, there is nothing left of Palestine, only 10%.
Okay, let me ask the same question to Dr. Shokri. I mean, how did you see the visit? Obviously, Mr. Hussein is saying nothing is being delivered on the ground, and factional infighting is one of the main stumbling blocks to any solution to the Palestinian crisis. How do you see the whole situation?
Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, we have to have in political negotiations. He's going to meet with President Trump in America, and in order to start some negotiations and to hope for any change, you have to have some cards to play with it. One of the cards that he has, that he carries with him, Mr. Abbas, it's the country, the Palestinians among themselves, like Mr. Hassan is saying, they are divided. I mean, deeply divided. And Israel, we talk about roadmap. The roadmap is the roadmap to divide the Palestinians and to reach what we have in today. And that's the roadmap, to have all that division, all these, and to have more than one problem. We had, I mean, Palestine with and I would borrow Saddam Hussein's expression, the mother of all problems. The mother of all problems is Palestine. And now we have Syria, problem in Syria and Yemen.
Because of Palestine?
Of course.
How so? Because I'm hearing this theme over and over again.
Not directly, but Palestine is definitely an issue on the Arabic panoramic map.
Been there for centuries. The Arabs have not united themselves in fighting for the Palestinians. The Palestinians themselves haven't united in fighting for themselves. And may he rest in peace, Musa Shhedo, of a political analyst that was always our guest here. He recently passed away, and the only thing that he saw
I'm sorry to do that because I was there with you.
The only thing that he thought as a Palestinian would be possible for him to see a Palestinian state was an intifada.
Yeah. That's not a solution, and it will never happen because people are refusing using violence. We should learn from the Pope's visit. We should really take the message forward. People had enough of violence, and what was possible to happen in Europe or the US 200 years ago, or in Europe 50 or 60 years ago during World Wars, cannot happen again because humanity have developed since then.
But no one is condemning Israel. No one is condemning Israel, which is clearly and has been named rightfully so an apartheid state, and no one is condemning it. And the international community sort of just keeps on talking about the Palestinian cause like it's a broken record.
Violence was practiced for 70 years.
Right.
What did we achieve? Nothing. And even if we go peaceful and then we revert to violence, I'm talking Palestinians here. We don't have a clear roadmap of what we're trying to achieve in Palestine. We're not playing the cards well, as Dr. Have said. We're not playing our cards. There are different cards than violence. There are different cards than division.
Well,
we should be playing on humanity.
Right.
Trump, for example, recognized the atrocities the Turks have applied against the Armenians or the Armenians. That was... But now, 100 years later, we're having a president who are courageously saying that there are atrocities that have been committed against Armenians. We can play on these cards. We can even play on the Holocaust. We're not even confessing that the Holocaust happened. Right? What did we gain by denying such atrocities that was committed against the Jews? There are so many cards, soft cards, to be played if the Palestinians have the will to really sort out the issues. But violence will not help anything.
What do you think will be the outcome, Dr. Shukri, of the Palestinian president's visit to America, especially given that the Trump administration has previously, I don't know if it's changed its mind, it hasn't made it clear at all, to transfer the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem?
Well, we don't know yet if they're going to do this or not. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they don't.
It will never happen.
Yeah, I don't think it will happen. But, you know, it's a very, very sensitive issue. And I don't think they're ready to do that right now, the Americans. But to talk about the accomplishment of this visit, I think he probably gets some, tapping on the shoulder or whatever, but it's not real things. Let me just tell you that the Arab, we don't want to put the blame only on the Palestinians. We're talking about Arab governments, the Arab countries. They are not united. They are divided, and part of the Palestinian division is caused by some Arab states. Actually,
and non-Arab states.
And non-Arab states.
Yeah, Iran and Turkey. And
Arab states and non-Arab states, and local in the area. So a situation is without unity. Forget about the non-Arab. I'm talking about the Arab states. Without that unity, and have one solid position from this, we won't have nothing. No cards to play with, and he won't accomplish anything. I'm sorry to say that, but I don't want to put the blame only on the Palestinians, like I said, on all the Arab world.
So, Mr. Hassam, do you think that nothing is going to come out for the Palestinian president and for the Palestinians from this visit?
we hope something will come up. But I mean, looking back at history and looking forward with what you have as a legacy, I don't see an immediate solution.
Right.
I don't see it. The Israelis themselves have to think differently as well. They are anxious for getting normalized with the Arab countries. So this is a card that we can play and they can use.
Do you think that the Israelis want normalization
Most
of
definitely.
ties? Right.
Most definitely, because you can never live forever, right, as an outcast.
But don't you think sometimes Israel likes to play that
No.
card, the victim?
No. It was possible at certain periods of the case. But now, nobody can afford living alone in such competitive world. And the US and Americans will not back Israel forever. Things change, culture change. Mass communication has an effect, social media has an effect, people interactions have an effect. Hence, it is, as rightly mentioned by President Sisi, it is the right time for the Israelis to rethink accommodating the Palestinian cause. And
under the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, because this is a very hawkish, far-right government.
We should not be forgetting that the one who signed the treaty with late President Sadat, may God bless his soul, was Menachem Begin.
Right.
Right. Menachem Begin was at one point of time a terrorist, right? And he was an extreme rightist. So usually these kinds of people are best fitted to strike a deal because they are thought by the population of Israel as eagles, not as pigeons. So they are the best to strike a deal.
Dr. Shukri, if I come back to you, obviously, do you think that when we come, for example, to looking at factional infighting, that Egypt can play a role in sort of trying to bring the groups together and sort of helping the Palestinians solve their problems before trying to solve the bigger problem that is with Israel?
Most definitely. Actually, Egypt is playing a role, a big role. Right now, and we probably, I mean, I don't want to make the picture look so dark, and but we are playing a big role in trying to bring the Palestinians together. We've seen the leadership of Hamas came to Egypt a few months or a month or ago or so. And also we have the Abu Abbas, Abu Mazen. So we're playing a big role, and we emphasize on the unity, and we emphasize on uniting the positions of the Arab, especially Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the surrounding countries. Hopefully, if the situation gets better in Iraq, and we also have the support of Iraq with us and other countries. Also, the role that we're playing in Africa, because these things will be addressed in the United Nations. And you have to have votes. Some people will vote for it. It's a apartheid regime. So we have to have, some people that will vote for us, for that Palestinian state. So, and Egypt is playing a very big role on that in Africa, now and in Arab worlds and in the whole world as well.
Your thoughts, Mr. Hussam, about the role that Egypt is playing to helping find a solution to the Palestinian cause?
Well, to lay it out loud, Egypt is the only country in the world that has played an honest role regarding the Palestinian case since its inception.
Yes.
We never exploited Palestine. We never really exploited the case to our benefits. We were always honest. When we fought well. When we struck peace, we struck it well. But the Arabs were not united when Sadat invited them for a peace, historical peace treaty, and we are paying the price in Palestine, and the whole Arab regimes have paid the price for not listening to Sadat 40 years ago. So I'm repeating what I've just said. Egypt is the only country exclusively that has played a very honest role regarding the Palestinian cause.
Well, finally, what do you think the Arab League's role has been, or what should its role be?
Well, when we have an Arab League, when we have an Arab unity, I'll tell you about it.
Okay, I thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in tonight. Mr. Hussam Nassar, former Deputy Minister of Culture, it was a pleasure having you with us.
Likewise.
Also a pleasure having you with us, Dr. Shukri Behgت Ramadan, political analyst. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Thanks very much for watching. From myself, Nancy Sarah Barakat. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.